Hi, and welcome to this AI and C# video on the Microsoft Agent Framework. Today we're going to look into dependency injection, meaning we're going to see a sample, but also a real life setup on how I actually use it in a real website. But first, let's see the example. It's under settings and configurations, and instead of a normal console app, I decided to choose a Blazor server here, so we can see a little more real scenario. The only thing that's not really real here is that I'm still gonna take my things from user secrets. It would probably more be a key vault in real setup. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make up an OpenAI client and add it as a singleton, uh, just based on my endpoint and my setup. And in the homepage, I will then dependency injection one of these clients and get an agent and get a response. So if we see the thing here, it says hello to it, it will answer. But you might say, why in the world are you still doing this directly in the code? Couldn't we just get one of these in dependency injection? And we could also get one of these if we wanted to. So, but I would not do that in my case. But I have in the sample here done it. So I've just made the same thing here. But as you can see, the model is here, meaning that this chat client would only work with ChatGPT 4.1 in this case. And if I needed multiple different clients, and you might say, probably you won't. Actually, you do. A lot of times you do something that is easy and something that's hard. So I would end up needing to use key services, like for example doing like this, and then I could do exactly the same with another one and five, and then new up another client and so on, and have a lot of different setups here. Or I could go the full route and actually take the client and make it into an agent and have that as a key service. And it would totally work. We can see we can just new up one of these, and then instead of creating the agent there, we could just say that our agent was from the client or directly from the agent involved. It will work, not a problem. But my main problem is that I would need to set up for each agent the different ones. And often I have that it's either on the GUI or in some kind of configuration what agent I'm using. So the users have some settings saying, I want to use ChatGPT 5 here, I want to use ChatGPT 4.1 here, and so on. So I don't find it flexible enough to do it like this. And for that reason, I'm always just injecting the raw client and then getting on the fly the chat client and so on, because at some point you might also need to get uh, it as a responses API or the audio client or the image client and so on. So to me, it's best to only inject the raw client and then take it from here. It's not like it's lines and lines of code. So it's not a big deal. So in my book, I would remove this and not have it. And you will see that if I go here to a live, real life sample. This is actually how I set up a production ready system that have the capability of working both with OpenAI and Azure OpenAI on the fly. So what I'm doing is I'm getting both the OpenAI key and the Azure OpenAI endpoint and key, in this case for Sweden. I'm getting a connection string from a SQL server because I use the embedding generator, which I also get from here. So the embedding generator is most likely the same model, in my case, ADA 2, every time. So I can definitely do those. And you can see I can definitely make them a singleton because these are just dumb objects that doesn't have anything in them, and they are also very light objects. to new up when you say get chat client. It's not like it's contacting the LLM and so on. It's only in the raw calls that the LLM is actually being involved. So there's no harm in adding everything as singleton. And as I mentioned, over here, for example, I then have a place where I can make agents. And I'm just newing up the two, OpenAI and so on. And then I'm injecting a model, and this model will also know what model name it is. So comes from a GUI where I can choose the different models. I can choose the instructions on the fly. That would be even more problematic in my own sample where we took the agent, because then the instructions should be fixed and the tool should be fixed. But no, it's better to take them like these, and then, in my case, on the fly, build them up, add more options and stuff on the fly if needed, with tools and instruction and everything. So it might be counterintuitive that you don't go for the real agents, but in my book, this is absolutely the best way of setting it up, especially because these calls are so cheap to do and doesn't need dependency in my mind. So that's everything. Fairly short topic because it is an easy setup. So with that, see you in the next one.